Emily Martin lived in a small town in Ohio. Every morning, she sat on her bed and looked out the window, watching the cars drive by. She felt a little hopeless. Each day seemed the same, and she often asked herself, "What if I am just not good enough?" At work in the local library, Emily was quiet. She wanted to share her ideas, but she worried people would laugh or say she was wrong. So, she kept her thoughts to herself. When her boss asked a question during the team meeting, Emily stayed silent, looking at the table. Later, she felt invisible. Emily's friends invited her out on weekends, but she told them she was too tired or busy. The truth was, she feared she was boring and no one wanted her there. When she scrolled through social media, she sometimes rolled her eyes in doubt at others' happy posts, telling herself, "That cannot be real." Her self-doubt made her see the negative side of every situation. She thought that other people had more luck and confidence. Emily wanted to change, but she did not know where to begin. She wished she could see the world in a nicer light, but her mind always found the shadows. One gray Wednesday afternoon, Emily was putting away books at the library when her eye caught a brightly colored cover. The book title, Finding Sunshine: Small Ways to Grow a Happier Life, stood out among all the others. Emily placed the book on a shelf, but something about the title made her pause. Her hand felt the soft cover for a second. The words seemed friendly and full of hope. An old curiosity woke inside her. She quickly looked around to make sure no one was watching. Then, quietly, she opened the book and read a line. "Sometimes, even a small step forward is the beginning of a big change." Emily stopped moving for a moment. She read the line again. Could that be true? Could taking a single step help her change her life? She closed the book and set it back, but all day, her mind repeated those words. While checking books, she imagined herself saying something kind out loud at work or trying a new hobby. Each time, she grew warm with the idea but cold with doubt. Am I brave enough? She wondered. Later, when she was alone at her desk, she told herself, maybe I could change a little. But there was fear in her voice. That evening, Emily could not stop thinking about the book. She remembered how often she felt scared to speak or try. She thought of the times she saw only problems, and how her cynicism kept her from enjoying even simple things, like laughing with friends or sharing a new idea. Her mind replayed old memories, showing moments when she had been too hard on herself. But now, mixed with these memories, was a wish, maybe, just maybe, life could be better if she tried to see things differently. After dinner, Emily searched her phone for similar stories. She found a short video about a woman who once doubted herself and always saw flaws in everything. The woman explained how she started noticing small good things in daily life: a sunny morning, a smile, a finished task. The woman said it was tough at first, but over time, it helped her feel lighter and more positive. Emily listened to the story twice. It was not magic, just slow, steady work over many days. Maybe anyone could try it. Still, questions pulled at Emily. What if I try to see the good and fail? What if people laugh at me? The fear was still there, heavy and firm. Hope and self-doubt fought quietly inside her. At bedtime, she wondered if change was possible or if it only worked for other people. But as she went to sleep, the words from the book returned, calm and steady. Maybe a small step forward was all she needed. That night, Emily felt uncertain, but the idea of tiny changes gave her the first light she had felt in a long time. The world seemed less heavy, just for a moment, as she slowly fell asleep. The next morning, Emily woke up with a new thought. She remembered the words from the book and the story from the video. They made her feel brave, just for a little while. She decided to try a small step, even if it scared her. At breakfast, Emily searched online for ways to be more confident. She saw a notice for a public speaking class at the community center. This idea made her heartbeat quicken. That is too much, she told herself. But then she remembered the advice: even a small step could bring change. Emily took a deep breath and signed up for the class. Her hands shook, but she clicked register. All week, Emily worried about the class. Her mind whispered doubts. You will look silly. You will forget your words. Everybody will find out you are nervous. Emily almost canceled her spot several times. Still, something pushed her to keep trying. On the day of the first class, she put on her blue sweater, the one that felt soft and safe. She walked to the community center, her feet slow but steady. Standing outside the door, Emily thought about leaving. Her stomach felt tight. But then she remembered the saying from the book. She repeated to herself, a small step forward. She opened the door and walked inside. The room was filled with people of all ages. Some talked with each other, smiling. Emily sat in the back and tried to breathe slowly. When her name was called, she stood up to introduce herself. Her voice was quiet and her hands shook. She finished quickly and sat down fast. She felt embarrassed, but the teacher smiled kindly and said, "Thank you, Emily." The kindness in the teacher's voice helped Emily feel a little better. After the class, Emily walked home in the cool evening air. She thought about what happened. She had been scared, and her voice was small. But she had done it. She showed up. It was not a big win, but it was a win. The next day at work, Emily had to help set up a small event at the library. She was asked to stand at the welcome table and greet guests. Usually, she would avoid speaking, but this time, she told herself, I spoke in class. I can say hello. Her voice was still soft, but she smiled and welcomed each guest. A few people smiled back and thanked her, making her feel a new warmth inside. With each tiny act, Emily's feelings grew lighter. There were hard moments, of course. Some days, Emily felt her self-doubt returning. She almost skipped class one night because she felt too nervous, but she remembered that small wins mattered. When she finished a speech or spoke up in class, she wrote it in her notebook. Seeing her progress helped her feel proud. Bit by bit, Emily saw she could change her story. The small wins gave her a little more hope and strength each day. One rainy Thursday afternoon, when Emily was stacking books behind the desk at the library, her boss called her into the staff room. Emily's heart beat faster as she walked in. Her boss smiled and said, "We are going to have a big town event next week for Reading Day. We need someone to give a welcome speech for the library. I think you would be perfect for this, Emily." The room felt very small all of a sudden. Emily's mind filled with noise. Her chest felt tight, and she noticed her hands shaking a little. The thought of standing in front of the whole town and speaking made her want to say no right away. Every worry she ever had rushed back. What if she forgot her words? What if everyone saw her as awkward or strange? What if she disappointed her boss and her coworkers? For a moment, she wished she could just run away. All that evening, Emily could not shake the feeling of fear. She sat on her bed, staring at the old poster on her wall, thinking about the challenge. Her doubt filled her mind again, louder than ever. She asked herself, "Why did my boss choose me? She could have picked anyone else." Her stomach felt like it was full of butterflies. Even though she remembered her small wins during the public speaking class, this new challenge seemed too big. During dinner, her mind kept returning to her old habits. She imagined people in the audience, rolling their eyes or whispering. She remembered times in the past when she had been too afraid to speak, and she worried she would freeze if she tried now. Underneath all this fear, Emily felt a small bit of hope. Her boss must have seen something good in her. Maybe her little successes had been noticed. Still, the hope was small, and most of what she felt was heavy worry. The days leading up to the event moved slowly. Emily tried to prepare. She read her speech out loud in her room each night. She wrote the words over and over, and practiced in front of the mirror. Each time she practiced, her self-doubt returned. She heard a voice in her mind saying, "You cannot do this. You will mess up." Sometimes, her voice would shake and she would forget what came next. She tried to imagine herself on the stage in the town hall, people watching, light shining on her, and felt her hands grow cold. But each night, she still practiced. Emily did not eat much before the big day. The nerves made her stomach feel tight and empty. As the time got closer, she thought about all the people who might be there, her co-workers, older neighbors, even her high school teacher. For the first time, she understood that this moment would really test her. It was more than just a speech. It was a chance to meet her fear and prove to herself that she could change, even just a little. The weight of what she was about to do was huge. But deep down, there was a quiet wish that by trying, she might begin to see herself and her world a little differently. When the day of the big event finally arrived, Emily felt like her insides were tied in knots. It was cold and cloudy outside, but the community center buzzed with excitement. Emily watched people come in, laughing in bright jackets, shaking off the rain. She stayed in a small side room with her speech folded carefully in her pocket. She wanted to be ready, but, as her name was called, her hands became sweaty and her heart pounded so hard she thought others might hear it. For a moment, she froze at the open door, feeling the old fear pull at her feet. She remembered every time her voice had failed before, every time she had believed it was safer not to try at all. She stepped up onto the stage and saw faces looking back at her. Some she knew, others she did not, all waiting and expecting. She felt a heavy pressure on her chest. For a second, the room seemed to spin, and her vision blurred. Panic shook inside as she held her note cards. Her mind whispered old doubts, "You will stumble. You are not enough." She took a wobbly breath and tried to look up, but her head wanted to stay down, safe. Then she remembered her practice. She remembered the soft voice of her public speaking teacher, encouraging her to speak loud and clear, and she remembered the line from the book, "Sometimes, even a small step forward is the beginning of a big change." Emily held on to that thought like a life jacket on water. She told herself, "I am here. I can just read the first line. That is one small step." She forced herself to look up, scanning the audience for a friendly face. She saw her boss smiling, and an older woman from her street waving softly, their smiles quiet and steady. Her hands shook less as Emily spoke the first line of her speech. Her voice was softer than she wanted, but it came out clear. For a second, she almost stopped, but she kept going, one line at a time. She read about the importance of books and stories, about how the library was a safe, warm place for everyone, and how stories had given her hope on hard days. The room listened, silent and gentle. Emily's hands stopped shaking by the middle of her talk. She dared to look up more often, letting her eyes meet the eyes of others in the room. She saw people nodding and smiling. Some children at the front gave her curious looks, and this made her heart feel light and silly for a moment. There were still small mistakes, one word she almost forgot, a pause that lasted maybe too long. But she kept going. Every sentence was another small win, another moment where she chose to hope instead of letting doubt win. Her fear did not vanish, but she worked with it, step by step. As she read her last line, "Thank you for making this library a special place," there was a brief, quiet moment. Emily saw a couple of people clap first, then more until the whole room filled with kind applause. Her face grew warm as she smiled, her chest rising with a soft, proud breath. In that moment, Emily learned that fear does not have to win. Fear can lose its power when you face it with hope and effort. Emily felt tired, but deep inside, she felt the strongest she had ever been. Her old doubts were still there, small and whispering, but she understood now that she could stand up to them. One step at a time, with kindness and courage, she had changed her story. The world felt different now, just a little brighter. Emily left the stage knowing she had done something hard and that she could do it again. Emily slowly stepped down from the stage, her knees still weak and her heart beating fast. The sound of applause was still in her ears. As she walked back into the small room where she had waited before, she felt a strange and new lightness inside her. She wanted to hide her smile, but she could not. For the first time in a long while, Emily felt proud of herself. She had done something she always thought was impossible. Her boss found her right away and gave her a gentle hug, saying, "You did fantastic, Emily. Everyone loved what you said. You made the library feel special for all of us." Such kind words made Emily's chest swell with pride. She was surprised at how warm it felt to accept praise and not walk away from it. As the event ended, many people came by to shake Emily's hand. Some thanked her for speaking, others simply smiled or told her she was brave. One little girl gave her a homemade card that said, "You are my hero." Emily saved it in her pocket. The love and encouragement she received felt real, not like the fake happiness she sometimes doubted on social media. This time, she believed it because she had seen herself doing something good and brave in front of everyone. She realized the cheerful faces she saw were sincere, and her actions had touched people in the room. Later that night, Emily sat quietly in her small kitchen, holding a warm cup of tea. She replayed the evening in her mind, being honest with herself about the fear she still felt. She thought about the shaky moment before her speech and the worry in her chest as she began to speak. But then she remembered how she kept going, line by line. She realized that she had met her biggest fear and did not let it stop her. She understood it was fine to feel scared, but it was even better to act, to try, to keep going even when afraid. She let this new thought sit gently in her heart. The old voice of doubt was softer now. It felt weaker, as if the hard work she put into each step forward had made her stronger than before. That night, Emily opened her notebook, the one where she kept little notes about small wins. In bold, she wrote, "Spoke for the whole town." She added, "Even with fear, I did not give up. I am changing. I am growing." She underlined the words, feeling full of hope. Lying in bed, Emily no longer cared if everything was perfect. The mistakes during her speech now seemed small, just parts of her journey. What mattered most was that she had tried. She could look at herself in the mirror and see not just someone who doubted, but someone willing to grow and shine, even in difficult moments. In the days that followed, Emily noticed a change in how she faced daily life. Little tasks that once felt impossible now seemed softer and easier. When self-doubt whispered, she remembered her speech and how brave she had been. She had evidence now that she could do hard things, and it helped her stay positive in new situations. The cycle of negativity was not as strong and did not hold her back the way it once did. Emily grew more resilient with each passing day, believing deeply that mistakes are not the end, but a step on the path forward. Her turning point had brought her to a place where she could imagine new dreams and new challenges. Emily knew she might still feel fear, and some doubts might return, but she trusted herself to act anyway, to move forward and seek out hope, even when it seemed hidden. For Emily, the most important lesson was simple: real growth comes from trying, especially when you feel scared. Every small step matters, and every moment of courage builds a brighter, kinder life. After her speech, Emily felt different inside, as if something heavy had left her chest. When she woke up the next morning, sunlight peeked through her window, and she felt a gentle excitement rather than the usual worry. The doubts she used to feel when she opened her eyes were still there but softer, like a distant echo. She made her breakfast with a small smile on her face. As she poured her coffee, she remembered the night before, the applause, the kind words, the happy faces of people from her town. Each good memory was like a warm light growing inside her, helping her see new possibilities. When Emily arrived at the library, her co-workers smiled at her in a way that felt caring and genuine. Her boss handed her a card, saying it was from everyone on the team. Inside, they wrote how proud they were of her, and how her courage had made the community feel stronger. Reading those words almost brought tears to her eyes. For the first time, she truly believed she was not alone, that her actions mattered not just for her, but for others too. She saved the card in her bag, wanting to keep that encouragement close, in case doubt appeared again. As the day went on, new challenges came as usual. A phone call brought some unexpected work. A group of students wanted to tour the library. In the past, Emily might have searched for an excuse to let someone else lead. Now, she felt nervous but ready to try. She told herself, if I could speak in front of the whole town, I can talk to these students. Her hands were still shaky when she began, but soon the children laughed at her gentle jokes, and by the end of the tour, she felt proud again. Each small act, every moment of bravery, added another bright line to her growing confidence. At lunch, Emily sat on a bench outside, feeling the fresh air on her face. She watched people pass by and reflected on how much she had changed, even in a short time. She remembered the old days, how doubt made her stay quiet or kept her from joining friends. Now, the fear was still there, sometimes strong, but she realized fear was just a feeling. It did not need to decide her actions. She knew from her speech that sometimes, you win just by showing up and trying. She promised herself to choose hope and effort over cynicism whenever she could. That evening, Emily got a message from her neighbor inviting her over for dinner. Before, she would have said no, unsure if she would fit in. This time, she wrote back, I'd love to come, thank you. She wanted to enjoy these chances more, even if her doubts did not disappear overnight. Stepping outside her comfort zone was not easy, but it felt less like a mountain and more like a gentle hill. Emily took time each night to write about her day, noting moments when her new, positive mindset had helped. She was careful to write not just about successes, but also how she worked through fear or handled mistakes. This habit made her see how every day gave her a chance to keep learning and growing. The story she told herself about her life was changing, turning into one full of effort, possibility, and kindness to herself. If she faced a challenge tomorrow, she knew she would meet it with more courage than ever before. Emily's new confidence began to spread into other parts of her life. At the library, she noticed a younger co-worker named Holly who always looked nervous when speaking in meetings. Holly would often try to hide in the back or avoid talking. Emily saw a piece of her younger self in Holly and wanted to help. After a meeting, Emily gently smiled and said, "I used to feel scared when everyone was looking at me, too. If you ever want to talk about it, or maybe practice together, I'd be happy to help." Holly looked surprised but soon relaxed and agreed. Over the next few weeks, they practiced small talks together during their lunch breaks. Emily shared what she had learned, how taking tiny steps and being patient with yourself could make things better. She listened to Holly's worries without judging and always offered gentle encouragement. Steadily, Holly began raising her hand more in meetings, sometimes bringing up new ideas to share. Each time, Emily felt grateful and proud, not only for Holly but for her own journey as well. Outside of work, Emily found another way to help others. One evening, she started writing a blog about her struggles with doubt and how she learned to try anyway. She kept her words simple and honest, hoping her story could encourage someone else who felt stuck or afraid. Her posts were full of little details: her first public speech, the quiet moments of fear, and the joy of small victories. Soon, she received comments thanking her for writing with such truth and kindness. Some people shared their stories in return. Emily realized her voice, once soft and hidden, now reached many people she would never meet in person. With each new post, her worries about being judged grew smaller. She saw that even mistakes in her writing or public speaking could help someone else feel less alone with their own fears. Once, a mother and her shy son visited the library. The mother quietly told Emily, "He gets so nervous at school he doesn't want to speak." Emily knelt beside the boy and shared about her own worries when she was younger, and how practice and kindness helped her grow. The boy listened and smiled, feeling seen rather than embarrassed. Emily promised to cheer him on every time he came in, and the mother thanked her. Experiences like these made Emily believe even the smallest bit of hope and support could make someone's day better. At home in the evenings, Emily often took a few quiet minutes to think about her life. She looked back at where she started, full of doubt, scared of trying new things. She reflected on all the small steps she had taken, the many days she chose hope over fear, and the friends she had gained because she was willing to reach out. Emily no longer felt stuck in a shadowy world. Her mindset was different, brighter, and focused on growth instead of hiding. When she wrote her blog or helped someone with advice, she understood that every time you help a person find a bit of courage, you grow stronger, too. Emily realized she was not just changing herself but was also a spark for change in others. Sharing her journey made her trust that self-improvement, when given away, turns one bright light into many. Emily sat at her kitchen table one peaceful evening as spring touched the small Ohio town. The warm light from her favorite lamp made soft patterns across her notebook and mug of tea. Outside, she heard the friendly sounds of life: neighbors talking, children playing, birds singing their last song of the day. It was just an ordinary night, but to Emily, life now felt full of meaning, promise, and quiet joy. Nothing outside had changed, but everything inside her heart was different. She had crossed from feeling small and doubtful to living with more hope and courage. As she opened her notebook, Emily looked over old entries. She saw pages covered with worries, fears, and questions about her place in the world. But with each new page, the tone grew lighter, warmer, and more confident. There were stories of standing up in meetings, taking risks, joining friends for weekends, and cheering for others' victories instead of doubting their happiness. She noticed a gentle pride growing through her words, proof that real change had taken root slowly, step by step. She wrote about how important it was to keep trying and to treat every mistake as a learning moment. Emily now understood that growth never ends. Each new day brought its own set of big and small challenges, but these were no longer things to fear, they were chances to grow stronger. Work at the library had also changed. Emily was no longer the quiet girl who hid behind the computer or put away books in silence. She was the one who offered help, welcomed new co-workers, and showed visitors around with a big smile. People came to her for advice, sometimes about library books, but often about little worries or their own feelings of fear. Emily listened well, using patience and kindness. Her team trusted her more, and her boss asked for her ideas when planning special events. Being part of the community in this way filled Emily with a sense of purpose she had never felt before. She discovered that helping others made her own confidence even stronger. Her friendships grew deeper, too. Emily went to more dinners and walks in the park, and she stopped worrying that she did not belong. She felt at home with her friends, laughing more easily and starting conversations about her dreams. When her old self-doubt visited, as it still sometimes did, she was ready. She would remember the lessons from her journey and remind herself, one small step at a time. This simple idea made hard things seem possible, and new things feel exciting rather than scary. Emily's blog gained more readers each week. Sometimes people messaged her to say, "Thank you, I feel stronger after reading your story." These words warmed her heart and inspired her to keep sharing, hoping that others could see they were not alone in their struggles. Through writing, Emily found another layer of meaning, a way to weave her private victories into something that could light the way for others, as so many little steps had once guided her. Looking out her window at the quiet street, Emily felt a steady hope inside. She believed in herself and the promise of growth, even when days were hard. She accepted that life would always have fears, but she also knew that each challenge was a gift, a chance for discovery, learning, and transformation. Emily was no longer held back by cynicism or doubt. With her new mindset, she welcomed every sunrise with confidence, ready for whatever came next, certain she would meet it with courage and an open heart.